I've long argued that we need a new force in Australian politics that genuinely represents the views, ambitions, values and concerns of the majority of non-woke and non-progressive Australians. Call it, if you like, the silent majority, the 60% of Australians who voted no to the Indigenous voice to Parliament. Not because they were racists or bigots or any of that rubbish, but because they were persuaded through very simple common sense and an old-fashioned sense of the fair go that the proposal for a separate Indigenous bureaucratic and political entity enshrined in the Constitution was not only ridiculous, but an offence against our democracy. In my opinion, that same majority, that 60-40 consensus, potentially exists on virtually any political or cultural issue you care to name. Abandoning net zero, lowering immigration, a genuine crackdown on crime, on being pro-America and pro-Trump, on being wary of China, on rejecting anti-Semitism and Islamic extremism, and on the need to dramatically boost our military spending, and indeed on other cultural bedrocks, such as rejecting radical gender ideology, reducing welcome to country, abandoning treaty, and so on. On all of these issues, what was once called the silent majority would easily win the day with a minimum of 60% of the electorate, in my opinion. The same people who voted no to the voice. So for argument's sake, let's call it the silent voice majority. I argued in the run-up to the May federal election that Peter Dutton's coalition would lose if they continued with their insane pro-net zero, pro-climate change, pro-immigration and anti-Trump agenda. And lose they most certainly did. Deservedly. Or at least the Liberals did. The Nationals held on to every one of their seats, every single one. Since then, that same silent voice majority has inflicted upon us the dispiriting spectacle of the bedwetting Liberals running their party not only into the ground, but into potentially oblivion. I have nothing against Susan Ley, but she belongs in the Teals. As you know, I am the editor of The Spectator Australia, and last month, one of our weekly writers, Kel Richards, who does a brilliant language column every week, and Sky viewers know very well from Credlin and other shows, sent me in a political column which I ran in the September 20th issue, the same week as CPAC. In that article, Kel begins, "Conservative politics in Australia looks to be in the worst shape it has ever been in. How many policies does Susan Lee's Liberal Party have at the moment? None." He goes on, how does she support the Conservative members of her party? Half-heartedly or not at all? Is she electable, he asks, in 2028? And he answers, no. Kel then goes on to provide a four-step solution to bringing about a genuine, popular, highly electable Conservative opposition. Writes Kel, quote, "There is a way that can be acted on immediately that will change the political landscape dramatically, powerfully, and in a Conservative direction." He goes on, step one, this is Kel Richards, "Every Conservative member of the Federal Liberal Party resigns en masse from the party and joins the National Party. Antic, Cash, Taylor, Hastie, Price, Chandler, all of them." Kel then goes on, "Every Conservative Liberal Party member should then jump ship. This would change the Libs from being the Titanic to the Mary Celeste." Great writing, but what else would you expect from Kel Richards? "This would make the Nationals the largest party, the senior party in opposition, and David Littleproud would become opposition leader. Part of the benefit would be that Susan Lee could then do whatever she wished with her loony left-wing rump of a party, and it wouldn't matter." End of quote. Kel Richards. So you can imagine not only my surprise, but also my delight when I opened the newspaper this morning and read the following article. Quote, "Nationals leader David Littleproud says he would welcome any Liberals defecting to the junior party, declaring that he would utilise new members and their ability to bolster the Nationals' power in the coalition because, as he says quite rightly, that's the game of politics." In comments, going on from the article, in comments that threatened to stoke tensions within the coalition, I suspect so, Mr Littleproud said the Nationals had never been more influential than now and were, quote, "not just a rural party anymore." He goes on, Littleproud, "I think our record, even as the smaller party, has proven we've got more influence than ever." Littleproud goes on, "We led the way on The Voice, true. We led the way on nuclear, also true. The article then pointed out that a disenchanted Liberal MP mused last week that if 7 of his colleagues defected to the Nationals, the balance of power within the coalition would be flipped. Clearly, the brighter sparks within the National Party have subscriptions to the Spectator Australia, as should you. But the plan is a good one. Whether it would happen, who knows? But the trajectory the bedwetting Liberals are on is too depressing for words, and it seems to be getting worse. I was horrified by the comments made this week by Senator James Paterson, a man whom I had hitherto regarded as a rock-solid Conservative, but sadly he seems to have drunk too much of the moderates' Kool-Aid. Paterson this week made one of the most idiotic comments I've ever heard a Liberal utter, and that's saying something, when he proclaimed the coalition must not become Farage-light. Indeed, he went so far as to proclaim that it would be a road to ruin if the Liberal Party went Farage-light, and proudly posted that headline on his own homepage. Road to ruin? What an absolute joke. And as if to highlight the idiocy of that comment and that sentiment, only a few hours later, this poll came out in Britain showing the state of politics in Britain today. Yes, that extraordinary aqua line along the top, that is Nigel Farage's Reform Party, right across the top there. And the bedwetting Conservatives, the Tories, the Paterson-style Tories, yes, that's that tiny little blue bit just above the Greens, which is almost invisible to the naked eye. Farage-light, you should be so lucky, James. So I say to the Libs, it's now or never. You either abandon your renewables overlords, you terminate your deals with your net zero paymasters, or else the Conservative vote, the silent voice majority, will abandon you to your fate.